Hello and welcome to the Handicapable Black Woman Throne Room. My view of humanity is a whole new tea. Okay, grab something to eat, something to sip, something to enjoy the petty. Because, yeah, while I've been talking and doing the other episodes on the, let's see, illiterate or the refuse to be educated or the as long as I don't read, then I can't be proven wrong, or as long as they don't get educated, they can't prove me wrong, kind of like there's so many things, but well, you know what? Let's just dive in. Just know there's two other parts because I'm going to be giving more examples about my experience within dating, especially dating men who tell me that either women shouldn't be educated or you should like don't focus on education period, or it's time consuming and dumb and just live your life, or what does learning about the outside of the world or whatever have to do, blah blah blah, or I actually have a life. It's like I stay to myself, or yeah, there's so many things, but yeah, let's sit back. Or if you're running air, like sometimes I'm like, hey, work on your goals. If you're painting the walls or taking care of business and things like that, your girl. Because yeah, you can't like, well, for right now, you don't see me anyway. So yeah, just listen or eat your brunch, eat your meal, do your thing, run your errands. I'm all for it because you guys already know what yeah, all the stuff I'm doing on top of disability life, you know. But while talking and things, I keep analyzing and thinking about some of the guys that I talk to, and some of the guys where I'm just like, oh, did I just waste a half hour of my life or an hour of my life, or who? Because sometimes I wonder if men hate or despise or refuse to date educated women because then those women, they're in fear of being proven wrong. They're they're scared that the woman would impart in power, because education is power, and that's one reason why they're trying to take it away. That's one reason why they're trying to make sure women can't, have the power of choice and everything like that. But it's like they're trying to take women's power away so much when it comes to body and voting and education and anything and everything, but especially education, because education is power, and they don't want women with power. They don't want women with voice. It's like, and then on top of that, a lot of men don't want the education anyways. So if the men are not educated, that means they have to keep the women even dumber. They have to keep us on an even lower tier. And for my generation, it's working. And sadly enough, the generation that I am in, they taught the next generation to, it was kind of like a copy paste, but the copy paste was even worse, to the point where I'm like, oh my gosh. Look, like I said, it's like when I taught them in the inner city, oh my gosh, whoa, do you know how many students they, and, but then it's like I taught at some schools in the inner city, they amazing. It's like, so it depends on the school and also the encouragement of the parents, because parents have a big deal with this, because sometimes parents think it's just a teacher's job. And that's why it's like, again, I give my mom credit, because during the summers we went to the library and we are in the library program, and then the Pizza Hut thing, the reading thing, and it's like we loved reading Rainbow and Wishbone and so many of the other reading things. And oh my gosh, Carmen San Diego, there were times where it's like they were talking about a country, and then I would go to the library and I would want to read about that country. And so like all of like PBS was such an amazing channel, which is reason why I think they're trying to take it away, because they not only give like truth when it comes to their forecasting and news, but then also with children, it's like giving them education and allowing them a chance to expand their minds and understand the phonics and stuff like that, so that they will be able to do the stepping stones of learning. But anyway, This episode, I'm going to be giving more examples of my dating situations and also the importance of education and reading. Because do you know how many men I have, like, I know I've said this in part one and two, but you don't know how many times that, and a lot of men, they blame women for not being married by at my age, or they say something must be wrong with me for never being married. And you know what, one of the things that's wrong is my education. A lot of men cannot stand like how I analyze and like my pursuit for education and knowledge and things. A lot of them don't. It's like, do you know how many brag that they have not read a book since grade school? And I can't even say what grade, because there's some who say middle school. There's some who say high school, but some say middle school. And then they try to tell me how they cheated or got through and still passed. Or one of them bragged and said that he slept with a nerd. It's like, and he broke up with her a week or two before graduation, but she did his homework. This is what I'm talking about. These are the men out there. But then men blame women, but then you have passport bros and all these other men, they blame women. When a man will use a woman in a second, he will get like, and this is why I say get educated, learn as much as you can. Because and yes, like sometimes street smarts mean so much, because I was book smart. Well, with my learning disability, but still book smart. I don't know, like, and to me, smart means things in so many different realms. And but it's like, and I have to be careful of the street smarts. And it's really funny that there was a guy that, like, well, Mark, the security guard I've mentioned before, yeah, he thinks I didn't know what was going on, but I did. But at the same time, I took advantage of him like he took advantage of me at the end of the day. So, and I will be showing his messages, and I might blur his face, but I'm showing his pictures. I don't care. I'm petty. Remember that I'm real petty. I do not care. And also, like, well, let's just say, yeah, okay, you know what, speaking of education, let me school some of you, like, because I know some of the men are going to be learning, like, oh, I'm going to do this too. If you do this, let's just say, you're probably going to be going to hell. Okay, I'm not the judge, but Satan's going to be writing a list and checking it twice, just like Santa. Yeah, God and Santa have their list, but yeah, the devil, it's like he has his too. But anyways, okay, because with Mark, he thinks I was really dumb. But like when you write in your profile that you enjoy making people's lives miserable, especially after I dated Mr. No Heart and he told me he loves making other people's lives miserable, I already knew. I already knew like that was a red flag. And I dated Mr. No Heart for 7 years because at first, like, he was just getting out of a divorce. He was just, so I thought it was a broken heart later, but then later, years later and stuff, like, I kept seeing red flags, and I kept saying, you don't mean that, don't do this, don't. There were so many times where I had to make sure he didn't do or say, like, stop saying some of the awful hateful things. But that's when I realized, no, he means it, because no one stops him from making my life worse or terrible, because I'm the one always telling him not to make others lives miserable. But then yeah, there's no one to help him stop from making my life miserable. So, but I'm gonna tell that whole story a different day. But it's just really funny with he's very street smart, and he think like my book smart was able to combat his street smart, but it's like you always have to be careful. Always look at the red flags. The more you read, the more you pay attention, the more you look at details, it will help you in the long run when it comes to dating, especially. But the real world period, but also with dating. Because a lot of these men are gonna try to use you. And I mean some of the ladies too, but remember I've only dated men so far. I have only dated men so far, because yeah, I'm not gonna say like ever, but yeah, right now it's only been men. So I only know with men. But okay, because for one, remember the one guy, he's from Ohio. It's like we matched on Hinge, and I will never forget when it's like he looked at my profile and everything. He saw that I have higher education or whatever, but then he had the nerve to tell me. that I have to come to the conclusion that I have to realize that Asian people are just smarter than black people. And so black people only get jobs or certain positions out of pity, and that Asians deserve majority of those positions. And we just have to realize that. So when I started sending him articles about African American geniuses and also inventors and also people who helped save society and nations in different ways because of their intellect. He got upset, he got mad. And when I showed him proof that African American women are the most like educated demographic in this country, he got mad. And then also when there are many Republican men or conservative men who have the nerve to try to tell me history and history that they don't really comprehend because they don't read enough. They listen to the red pill, they listen to Fox News, they listen to a lot of these toxic, terrible, conniving, just deceiving pieces of information that's not true whatsoever. It's all full of falsehoods. But when they try to tell me that it's Democrats that had enslavement and everything like that, they forget that the party switched. Because now look at who has the conservative or the or even with the Confederate flag and things like that. Yeah, you don't see Democrats with Confederate flags, do you? You don't see Democrats with Confederate flags, do you? Who does? And who has Confederate flags and the Orange Man's flags? Yeah. Hmm. And then it's like, how many of the hate groups follow the orange guy? Yeah, and then when it comes to the race situations right now, who are the ones cheering on the deportations and the racism and all the hateful, awful things that are happening to people of color and black people? Yeah, and so a lot of the Republicans, it's like the way they look at history, and especially they keep wanting a white month or a Caucasian month, not realizing that white and Caucasian is a misconstruct. And it's like they're but when especially when African Americans try to tell them the history of white and how it developed, they're so insulted when they hear white privilege. They don't understand the construct, or they say, well, I'm white, but I don't have white privilege. Yes, you do. It doesn't care if you're poor, rich, or whatever. White, you don't understand the privilege that you have because you have it and enjoy it and don't have any issues because you have it. And or you don't talk to enough people that are not white or Caucasian or whatever, however you want to say it, and so you don't understand the differences, especially within life. But then people want to say that like African Americans are more violent and all this other stuff, when it's like if you don't read books about like the history of riots and frustration and not being heard and being mistreated, and then also when we have like a group of white people trying to create only white towns, but then they like people now have the nerve to say, oh, black people are going to be so upset, so black people, you already have your own towns, or make your own towns and get over it. And you're just like, okay, well, first you need to do your history, because you're so dumb, you don't know how many towns the African American community tried to make, and how when the white people saw how beautiful and amazing and just the the marvelousness of it all, they came down and burned it and eliminated a lot of the people. Bang bang boom boom, you know what I'm talking about. And so it's just infuriating with how a lot of these people don't understand the history, because one, it's like a lot of these high schools, a lot of these schools, period, K through 12, refuse to put this knowledge into the books, to the point where a lot of these people get out of school and they're so ignorant and naive and just, but then they want to stay in that ignorance. And that's how you create a conservative, because a lot of them, they don't want to expand the knowledge from those books. They don't want to know the reality. They want to only know the whitewashed version, or they only accept the whitewashed version. That's how you end up getting Candace Owens, because she just accepts it and teaches on it and blames black people for the when she knows parts of the reality, but she wants to ignore the reality, and that's just my opinion, but that's what I've observed. And that's like the thing, because especially Candace Owens is kind of a prime example, because even I think during college or some point within her educational life, when she was younger, she had even a lawsuit or something with discrimination, racism, but then it's like I think she started off when she was doing social media. She wasn't a conservative. I That's what I've heard. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. Okay, okay. But it's just funny how now she's teaching things based off of misinformation. She's going on Purdue University, which is, in my opinion, full of lies, deceiving, awful, terrible, bigoted information. But it's funny, well, because even though I don't watch any Republican conservative media, they keep trying to place that Purdue University commercials in between my video, like the videos I watch. It's like I'm like, nope. Right when they say I could skip that video, I press it so fast. I press it so fast. It's like they're selling socks. They're doing this. Look at this basketball player who didn't kneel. I I would never want like, uh, yeah, that. See, though he's the type of player or he's the type of guy like. Cause yeah, I'm never gonna probably date. Like we already know. Okay, the reality is the reality. But dating a normal, like, okay, a non-professional athlete, a non celebrity version of him, I would never date, because especially to me he seems uneducated, ignorant, naive within the realities of what's going on within the African American community. And you know what, he has his own opinion, so he probably thinks the same of me. But I know, like in my opinion, of the kneeling and the importance of your voice. And also, again, it's like Martin Luther King wrote a really powerful like book about the importance of your voice, and like how to have peaceful protests, but then also what happens when you're not heard and how riots develop and things like that. He had a whole thing about that. And but it takes education to understand what's going on. But I just feel like a lot of these conservative people are saying so much information that's not true. But then a lot of these people don't want to double check. They don't want to do their information. They just be like, oh, that's what he said. Because remember, Mr. No Heart's mother, the one who says that the only reason I got into college is because I'm black. Yeah, she kept wanting to tell me, well, there's no racism because Candace Owens says there's no racism. So that's the only source you want to listen to. It's like you could not wait for to hear this from a black woman. And so every time I would see this woman, she would tell me, she would even say, oh, get out your phone. Yeah, here's the channel. It's like you still don't watch her, you still don't listen to her. You need to listen to her. She's gonna tell you everything you need to know. A white woman's gonna tell a black woman this. Yeah. And so when it comes to education, sometimes you have to understand that sometimes you need more than one source. Sometimes you need different types of resources to back up what you think, or because sometimes what you think is wrong. Sometimes what your opinion, because again, with that basketball player, you know what? My opinion of why it is important might be wrong. It is, in my opinion, from my experience, and he has a different life and different experiences. And so it's like I would sit down with him and talk with him to understand and have empathy and understanding for his position. Am I going to agree with him at the end? Probably not. But I am willing to sit down with him. I'm not willing to date him. I'm not willing. And that's, see, and that's another thing with these dating apps. That's another thing with these dating apps because 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 With my list of standards, men do not understand the difference between dating and friendship because some men who have told me, what's the difference between dating and friends? Don't you start as off as friends in order to date? Uh, well, yeah, you can do that, but also sometimes you can be friends to stay friends. Sometimes you are platonic and you stay platonic. It's like sometimes it's friends, and after friends do not pass go, do not collect your $200. It's like, no, you're staying friends. You're not going around that board again. No. It's like, and if you try to pass go, you might end up in jail or maybe even that free parking space because they're going to keep leaving you hanging so many times. But that's just in my opinion. Or once you get that $200, they're probably going to steal it from you because they're a no good backstabbing people anyway. But we have to be careful because, well, but it's just crazy to me how, especially even again with the conservative party, within the white privilege party, a lot of white people have told me, oh, well, African Americans, you guys have African American month. We need white month. I've already done an episode on this, but white and the concept of it, the racism with it, and the pursuit and the reason behind whiteness is all based off of racism, power, slavery, dehumanization, even go back with the three-fifths human. It's like you have to look at all of the variables and all of the pieces of history, but a lot of people are too lazy to do that because they are scared that they are going to be proven wrong. So, but then they have to make sure other people or are as uneducated or less educated than them. So then they get on to their own social media. They don't want like because remember what I do with a lot of my episodes. I have the articles you can click on. I have the videos where you can watch and listen to experienced people because I even have some of professionals, people who have doctorates and things like that. But oh, having a doctorate does not mean you're smart because even look at how the president, the orange guy, can't believe he got a second term, but it's because of the poorly educated people that we're surrounded by. Because, yeah, like it's even crazy how so many black women, see, black women again, it's like 96% of us, we were right. We kept warning them, we kept telling them because of our education. They keep saying that we're not educated, but look at what's happening now. And look at us, like a lot of us, we ended up being the Nancy Drews because we kept showing the clues and kept showing the history and the cause and effect and connecting the dots and everything. But everyone kept telling us that we were making it up. They kept blaming us for our misfortunes and things like that, even though society, different parts of society keeps knocking us down and putting us down and everything like that. And then having the nerve to say reverse racism, but the reverse racism is basically based off of their laziness, their privilege, and things that they think they automatically deserve because of the color of their skin, but they want to say reverse racism. Ho, 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 ho. But now look at what the orange man is doing with set like these soldiers out around DC and what he did with California. And it was pretty good in I'm not saying perfect, but in California, everything was kind of peaceful with their protests and things until they set them out. Yeah. And then now police officers are pulling over his people who are Hispanic, and a lot of times they are citizens, but they are treated like black people used to be like, well, we still are treated that way, but yet now the Hispanic community gets to share in our experience because a lot of Hispanic community used to think we were lying, but they wouldn't read about it. They wouldn't have empathy about it. So you see, it's like that's where education can get you. But now, since they refuse to get that education, since they refuse to sit down with us, look at where we're at now. See, this is the power of reading, the power of researching, looking up things so that you can know the experience of someone other than yourself. Because now a lot of people refuse to do that before they went to the voting polls. And look what happened. Look where we are. Look at how many people they are trying to hurt and destroy. Women, people of color, black people, people with disabilities, people who are not like themselves, people who are even on Medicare, Medicaid, and everything like that. They're going to take Medicare and Medicaid away, but they want to build a $200 million ballroom and they want to get a jet with how much is that? Yeah, but then they want to fire all these people from the government, especially people who would be able to, like, in the sciences. But then they want to put down some of the science experience e- ex, experiments, not realizing that some experiments cause an effect. Sometimes one experiment gets you to the next experiment, to maybe one day even getting to a cure of another. But it starts with baby steps. First, you have, because you can't do a hypothesis on something when you don't have this, like, you can't start with the X when you haven't started the A, because you need to know the reason, the purpose of how to get to X. And that takes research, that takes studies, that takes reading, that takes understanding of the purpose and understanding of the how A and B happen to get to C. But it's almost like the president wants to skip all of that, or he wants to just make sure we're as dumb as possible. I don't know which one it is. You guys let me know, because I don't. It's just, with all, like, especially, I keep reading all of the amazing science related things that's going on around the world, and even the public transportation and things that would help those with disabilities. But then watching what our country is doing is to a point where it's just sad and frustrating. But a lot of the reason is because of the miseducation and the refusal to read, and the refusal to understand people who are outside of yourself. And it's like you refuse to have empathy, sympathy, compassion, and even look outside the box of what could happen, what could be, without even looking at Project 2025. People kept saying black women were making it up about or the orange guy says it has nothing to do with him. Yeah, he said a lot of things, and he lied about a lot about us. He lied about a lot of things too. I'm sorry, my mind is everywhere. Like, when, especially when it comes to this topic, it hits home so much because of how many men told me that women aren't supposed to go to college. We're just supposed to have babies. I've had so many men tell me that. Some men who even told me the only reason they're interested in me is because I don't have kids, and that they have other baby mamas, but they train their baby mamas and set them straight so they know how to act. But they're not going to date a woman who has a baby daddy, because they're not going to tolerate that. They're not going to deal with that, because that takes away their power. A lot of these men just want power. They don't want education, but they want the power. They want the power that comes from education, but without being educated. So at the end of the day, you got just an idiot. And I could say that because, it's like, I'm gonna, each episode, I'm hopefully gonna put at least some of the examples. It takes a lot of times, and watch the episodes. I think I have about almost 200. No, I have over 200 screenshots of real life dating apps. All of these are all messages that I have gotten from these men. All of the 300 to 400 episodes I have posted so many that prove the the poorly educated men in America. It's like, I don't know what, like, and the thing is, I have over 200 to 300 more images. It just takes time. But then, oh yeah, look at my Patreon, because yeah, if you want a cheat sheet, like, it's $2 a month. Look, because I'm not trying to say it to sell it to you, but it's like literally, like, because, oh, and yeah, I don't blur anything out there either. But all of these messages were from me, because of my list of standards. Men hate me that much. And the thing is, it's because of my education, because I started noticing why men wanted nothing to do with me, why they hated me. So I made a standards list of all the things that a man needs to have that they hate about me. Because they hate that I'm vaccinated. They hate that I have an education. They hate that I want to adopt and foster. They hate that I'm a Democrat or on the left. And those are the main things. But anyway, this is the Handicapable Black Woman Throne Room. I am a woman, I am of color, and I am handicapable. But most importantly, I am human, and you're human too.